Dear learners, welcome back to LMTI interview preparation series. In this series, we are going to discuss about the frequently asked Java program, and as part of today's discussion, we are going to discuss about the program called as an reverse string. Assume that I'm having the string called as an ABC. If I ask you to reverse, so the output should print like CBA. And how we are going to achieve this? It is pretty simple. I have created the class called as an reverse string, under which I have created the main method. Now let me just initialize a string called as an A, and I'm assigning the value called as an learn more. And how we are going to print this learn more in a reverse order. Like you all aware, in a programming language, so each and every value will be stored in an index order. So let's say in the 0th index L will be present, and in the first index E will be present. So when we can use index in the sense if it is of an array. So the first step is we need to convert this string into an array. So as we are going to split each and every character, so we can convert this string into one character array. And how we are going to convert to one character array in the sense, so the variable name of the string is A, and if I give dot, inside which we will be having one inbuilt method called as an two character array. So now what happened, the particular string will be splitted into one character, and I'm storing in a character array. I'm using the data type called as an char, and I'm notating the array symbol, and let's say we give the variable name as C. So technically this line indicates you have created the character C, and how the string is stored inside the character in the sense it will be like L comma E comma A comma etc. And each and every character will be stored in an index order here. So everything inside the array will be stored in an index order. So if we say 0th index, the L will be stored. If I say 7th index, so R will be stored. So with the help of the index, we can easily retrieve the value. So if I say C of 0, it is going to retrieve the value called as an L. And how we are going to retrieve the value from this character array in the sense, so we need to do some repetitive action. So whenever the repetitive action come into the picture, we need to use the loop. So here we are going to use the loop called as an for loop. So you all aware of the for loop syntax, its initialization and condition and increment. So here we are going to initialize some value. So let's say I'm going to initialize int I is equal to 0. When we initialize from the 0, so it will pick the value from the 0th index. But here we are going to do the reverse string. So we need to initialize the last index. And how we are going to initialize the last index in the sense, so we need to calculate the length of the character array. So length in the sense, so we call it as an size, the number of values which is stored inside the particular array. Here we have total of 9 values, and we can say so the length of character array C is 9. Here I'm going to initialize this length. How we can initialize the length in the sense, the variable name of character array is C. So when I say C dot length, so it will return the value called as an 9. So initially the value of I will be 9, and post that we are going to set up the condition. So the loop will basically execute only based upon the condition. I'm setting up the condition I greater than or equal to 0. Then I'm going to add a decrement operator I minus minus, and I'm creating the block for the for loop. So what is mean by decrement operator in the sense, so during each and every run it will reduce the value by 1. So it will reduce the initialized value, so which is nothing but it will reduce the value of I. And inside the loop, I'm just adding the sysout statement, and I'm going to pass the index value with the help of the variable called as an I. So I'm just giving C of I. So when I say C of I, so the program will be execute. But if I run this program, so now it will throw the error? It will throw the error as an array index out of bound exception, because here we have given c dot length. So length in the sense like it will calculate the number of values which is stored inside the array, and totally we are having 9 values, and the value of I will be initially 9, and it will pass the value called as an c of 9 inside the loop. So now what happened, like we don't have the index value as 9, because like we are having the maximum index called as an 8. So which means like here we need to reduce the length by 1. So I'm just giving it as an minus of 1. So now if I try to right click and run the program, so what happened, so it will reverse the string. So like you could see, it has read the value from last index. And in case like if you need to print the string in a single line, so then what we can do, in yesterday's program, like in the sum of array, so like we have learned about one syntax called as in this arithmetic operator. So with the help of this arithmetic operator, so we were able to add all the values. So as it is of an integer, it has added up the all values, and if it is of an string, so it is going to amend all the values together. So how we have initialize something called as an sum. So here I'm going to initialize the dummy variable. So let it be of an string r is equal to null, and I'm going to use the same logic. So r plus is equal to c of I. So technically it indicates like what we are trying to do. So we are going to amend the r plus c of I. So initially the value of r will be null, and we are going to retry the value based upon the index, and we are going to store the new value in the variable called as an r. So for easy understanding, so let me add a debugger point. At the same time, let me add the sysout statement for this particular r, because the new string value will be stored in the variable called as an r. So let me just add that debug points, or we call it as an breakpoints, in line number 17 and line number 19. Let me right click and run in the debugger mode, so you will be getting the better understanding. So now what happened, initially it will calculate the length. So length minus 1, so which means like, so the value of I will be 8. So you could see the length is 9. So c dot length is 9, and it will reduce the value by minus 1. So the value of I will be, initially it will be 8, and it will check for the condition. So like whether 8 greater than 0. If the condition is true, it will step into the loop. You could see the value of I is 8, and it will pass the index in the C of I. So when I say C of 8, so it is going to retry the 8th index, which we call it as an E. So now it will retry the value called as an E, and E will be stored in the new string. If I resume the program, you could see, so it has stored the value called as an E. So now the loop will execute again. Now what happened? This decrement operator will decrease the value of I. So now the value of I will be changed to 7. So what is present in the seventh index? So we call it as an R. So initially like we are having some variable called as an E. So now what happened? It will store the new value and it will become ER. In similar way, so the loop will keep on executing, and you could see, so the new value is keep on amending in the variable called as an R. At the end, right? So whenever the condition fails, so the loop will terminate, and we are able to reverse the string value. If you could see the output, so the learn more has print in the reverse order. And how we have achieved in the sense, like initially like we have converted as an character array. So the reason why we have converted as an array in the sense, because only with the help of the array, so we can retrieve the value based upon the index. So that is the reason like I have converted this string to the character array, and post that like we have calculated the length, and we know the index value, and we have done the repetitive action with the help of the loop. So we have initialized something, and we have set up the condition, and we have used the decrement operator, and the loop will execute whenever the condition is true and post that like inside which like we have used the arithmetic operator concept. So we have passed the index value inside the C array and post that like we are amounting the value in the new string called as an or at last. So we are able to reverse the string based upon the index. At last we were able to reverse the string successfully.